Innovation is a survival imperative. If an organization doesn't change what it offers the world and the ways in which it creates and delivers those offerings, it could well be in trouble. And innovation contributes to competitive success in many different ways. It is a strategic resource, helping to get the organization where it is trying to go, whether it is delivering shareholder value for private sector firm or providing better public services or enabling the startup and growth of new enterprises. Innovation is about growth, about recognizing opportunities for doing something new and implementing those ideas to create some kind of value. It could be business growth. It could be social change. But at its heart, it is the creative human spirit, the urge to make change in our environment. Innovation doesn't happen simply because we hope it will. It is a complex process which carries risks and needs careful and systematic management. Innovation isn't a single event like the light bulb going off above a cartoon character's head. It's an extended process of picking up on ideas for change and turning them through into effective reality. As innovation is imperative for the company, it needs to put an innovation strategy together. This involves three key steps: pulling together ideas around core themes and inviting discussion and argument to sharpen and shape them. These are strategic analysis. What could we do? Strategic selection. What are we going to do and why? Strategic implementation. How are we going to make it happen? Let us look at each of these in more detail. And let's speak about strategic analysis, the first step. Strategic analysis begins with exploration of innovation space. Where could we innovate and why would it be worth doing so? A useful place to start is to build some sense of the overall environment, to explore the current threats and opportunities and the likely changes to these in the future. Typically, questions here relate to technologies, to markets, to underlying political trends, to emerging customer needs, to competitors, and to social and economic forces. It is useful to add to this map some sense of who the players are in the environment, the particular customers and markets, the key suppliers, and the number and types of competitors. We can think about strategy as a process of exploring the space defined by our four innovation types presented in the second part of this presentation. The four P's: product, position, process, and paradigm. Each of the four P's of innovation can take place along an axis running from incremental through to radical change. The area indicated by the circle in this figure is the potential innovation space within which an organization can operate, where it actually explores and why, and which areas it leaves alone are all questions for innovation strategy. And for new entrant entrepreneurs, this can provide a map of explored and unexplored territory, showing where there is open opportunity, where and how to tackle existing players, etc. It also provides a useful map for social innovation. Where could we create new social value? Where is there unexplored territory? Where and how can we do things differently? And in the second phase, the strategic selection, here the issue is choosing out of all the things we could do, which ones we will do and why. We have scarce resources, so we need to place our bets carefully, balancing the risks and rewards across a portfolio of projects. There are plenty of tools to help us to do this, from simple financial measures like payback time or return on investments through to complex frameworks which compare projects across many dimensions. The challenge is for individuals and organizations to be aware of the extensive space within which innovation possibilities exist and to try to develop a strategic portfolio which covers this territory effectively, balancing risks and resources. And having explored what we could do and decided what we are going to do, the third stage in the innovation strategy development is to plan for implementation. Thinking through what we are going to need and how we will get these resources we may need to partner with, what likely roadblocks may we find on the way, all of these questions feed into this step. Of course, it is not a simple linear process, as in practice there will be plenty of discussion of these issues as we explore options and argue for particular choices. It is worth thinking through and challenging the business model for doing whatever it is we have in mind. Building a business model or thinking through the business model provides a powerful way of making our assumptions explicit and opening them for discussion. There are many companies with excellent technological products, especially in Europe. Many firms continuously introduce innovations to their products and processes. Yet, many companies will not survive in the long term despite their product innovation capabilities. Strong players such as AEG, Kodak, Grundig, Quelle, Nixdorf computers are vanishing from the business landscape one after the other. What is this happening? Why? The answer is simple and painful. These companies have failed to adapt their business models to the changing environment. Today, the competition is taking place between business models and not just between products and services. But what is a business model? The concept business model is mentioned first at the end of years 1990s. A business model is an explanation of how value is created for customers, and making an explicit can help us focus on how we can capture this in innovation. Every organization, public or private sector, offers some kind of value proposition, a product or service, or some combination with end users' value. In commercial markets, this is something they are prepared to pay for, but in other contexts, such as the public sector, services like education, welfare, and healthcare are similarly valued by those who consume them. Examples of business models are a theater, which uses scripts, actors, scenery, lighting, and music to create a theatrical experience which the audience values. A car company, which mobilizes an extensive supply network to bring together components and services and assembles them into a car which the customer values. Or an insurance company which provides a guarantee of payment to offset the cost of losses from accidental damage, theft, or other incident, and customers value the peace of mind which this brings and are prepared to pay for it. Another example of business model is a smartphone retailer, which provides a platform across which communications, entertainment, and personalized application traffic can flow, and customers are prepared to pay to own or rent the device because of the functions it offers. Innovation is all about creating new or better ways of delivering value. And so, if we are concerned to capture value, it makes sense to begin by making explicit the model we are using to create it and to check whether it does the job well. And importantly, whether it is sustainable in the long term or whether it is vulnerable to replacement or challenge by someone else. It is the idea of business model innovation. Why use the business model? The purpose of a business model is to provide a clear representation of where and how value is created and can be captured. That is useful for a number of reasons. It provides a roadmap for how an innovation can create value, but it won't just happen. It needs a framework. It provides a way of sharing the idea with others, making the business vision explicit. That can be useful for entrepreneurs trying to pitch their ideas to venture capitalists or to innovation teams trying to win resources and support for an internal innovation project. And it offers a helpful checklist of areas to consider in making sure the idea and the road to create value with it is well thought out. There are 4 central dimensions in the business model. Who? As every business model serves a certain customer group, it should answer the question, who is the customer? What? The second dimension, which describes what is offered to the target customer or what the customer values. It is known also as the customer value proposition. How? As to build and distribute the value proposition, a firm has to master several processes and activities. These processes and activities, along with the involved resources and capabilities, plus their internal value chain, form the third dimension, and value, which explains why the business model is financially viable. In reality, there are some generic business models. Once established, there is competition about finding new and modified ways of deploying these, playing with the 4 Ps in terms of streamlining or changing the processes, modifying the product or service offering, or changing the position in new markets or in the story we tell about our offer. The generic pattern of innovation is played by many different players, each of whom is trying to compete by modifying some aspects of the business model through innovation. For example, the basic airline business model is that people pay for the service of transportation. Over the years, we have seen competition among airlines based on incremental innovation in the service offered. Different destinations, different catering, different aircraft, different seating and sleeping options, provision of lounge accommodation, transportation to or from the terminal, etc. Process innovation have reduced the cost and improved the flow in areas like check-in, reservations, fuel efficiency, terminal turnaround times, etc. Position innovation has segmented the market through low-cost short-haul flying, and this has led to a paradigm innovation from being seen as a luxury service for the few. Flying has now become the possible mode of travel for many. And it is important to think about the model also in the long term. How easy is it for someone to copyright now? And where are the places where we can protect and defend ourselves from competition? And looking ahead, How could we develop the idea further to add new kinds of value, or do it for more people on the demand side, or with different players on the supply side? In other words, how would we go about business model innovation? Hopefully, you have found interesting this third part of the presentation. I'd like this presentation to serve as a stimulus to you to search more in terms of innovation in businesses, as the field is too broad and there is so much to read, to learn, and to implement. If you have any questions, please comment down below. Thanks for your attention.